Hello and welcome to another video, and today we're going to be going over the primaries that happened yesterday, the 12th of May, and I'm basically going to be going over the results. There were many results, many primaries, elections for many different positions, so I'm going to just go in order from what I have open, so it might just be pretty random, but I'm just gonna go in order of how the tabs are placed. So we have Wisconsin 7th Congressional District special election. The incumbent from before was Sean Duffy, and he is no longer, he resigned, and now there was actually a special election yesterday, and the election from, let me try and get it up. I want to get the results for this. Okay, so here we have Tom Tiffany, who was the Republican nominee in Tricia Zunker, and Tom Tiffany was the nominee. Jason Church, he was eliminated in the primary, and he won by a pretty large margin, and there were 76,000 votes in total for the primary. And then Tricia Zunker, she's the president of a school board and an associate justice of the Ho-Chunk Nation Supreme Court. So that's pretty interesting. Had Lawrence Dale eliminated in the primary, but the interesting thing is that there were only 40,000 votes, which shows that there's an advantage for the Republicans here. It already is a rural county, which favors the Republicans, and many of these ratings are safe Republican. You have Cook Political Report giving ranking it as safe R, safe Republican. Inside Elections, Sabaro's Crystal Ball. You have a general consensus that this election was going to be pretty lopsided for the Republicans, and it ended up being pretty lopsided. You had Tom Tiffany winning by around 15 points, a little bit less, so that would make it a likely margin, but it's very close to being a safe margin. I don't think that really matters. So it was pretty safe. I think I was especially expecting this. I think this was a pretty obvious one. So let's move on. The Republicans held their seat here, which is a good sign for them, showing that they are doing pretty well with rural voters. There were only like 3 counties that went to the Democrats in that election. And now I'm going to be going to California's 25th Congressional District special election. And for here we had Christy Smith and Mike Garcia. Both of them advanced to a runoff because the special election had nobody getting over 50% of the votes. Christy Smith won 36% of the vote. Mike Garcia got 25%. Steve Knight, the former representative from the district, got 17%. And they were everybody here was fighting over the position of Katie Hill. She resigned a few months ago, and the special election was held on March 3rd, and basically you had Christy Smith and Mike Garcia advancing to the runoff. This was actually rated as a toss-up by Politico, Sabato's Crystal Ball, Cook Political Report, but Inside Elections said it ranked it as likely Democrat. There was one poll showing Mike Garcia leading, and from what we know, these are the incomplete results. some people were saying it's like 76% reporting, 79% reporting, 81% reporting, or like even 100% reporting. It takes California a notoriously long time to report the results, but from what we know, which we have Mike Garcia with 56% of the vote and Christy Smith with 44% of the vote. Mike Garcia is currently leading in both counties, which is pretty interesting. I was expecting Los Angeles County to go to Christy Smith and Ventura County to go to Mike Garcia, but no, he got the suburban areas. He did well in Simi Valley, and he just did well in general. It's a good sign for Republicans because they're probably going to win here. I didn't think they were going to win. I really underestimated how well Mike Garcia would do. If everything holds, he would have won by 12%. I don't think anybody was expecting that large of a margin. I think I don't have the source, but there was mail-in ballots sent to voters in the district, and 40% of the Republicans sent them back with their votes for Mike Garcia, and only like 28 sent theirs back for Christy Smith. So there was lower voter turnout, and that might explain why she did well in the district special election, the Congressional, California's 25th Congressional District Special Election on March 3rd, and now she's doing pretty badly. So I think that kind of explains the inconsistency. But also, if you added up like how much the Democrats ended up having, you had like two big candidates with like one with 25% of the vote, one with 17, which is, and that together they would have passed Christy Smith, and Cenk Uygur was fourth, and together fourth and fifth, they only contributed 10%. So Republicans actually did have a sort of advantage going in, and that's pretty interesting because now that's a flip for the Republicans, which means that they gained the House seat. And I really wanted to see like an exit poll. If there is one, I'd love to see it. I don't really know if there were any exit polls conducted, but if there were, that would be really cool. I want to see the breakdown of the results. But this is a great win for Republicans, and will they flip the House in 2020 when November comes around? Probably not. There's a pretty small chance. But will they be able to flip many other seats? Maybe suburban areas, places that Democrats flipped back in 2018. Now the Republicans have a pretty good advantage going in. I think that the generic ballot will start closing a little bit. So you really could see a more contested race in the House of Representatives. So that's that. And now I'm going to be going over the Democratic primary results in Nebraska. Bernie Sanders dropped out over a month ago, but he's still on the ballot in like every single state. He was reinstated on the ballot, I'm pretty sure, in New York after Andrew Yang sued the New York Board of Elections for kicking him off the ballot. So you basically had all these rural areas going to Joe Biden. Pretty interesting. All these larger areas, you don't really have Bernie Sanders doing well there. But the only places that like Bernie Sanders really did like okay, like enough for him to get like a delegate was in like Omaha and Lincoln. And like those are like two of the larger cities. You see Bernie Sanders he was actually it's kind of like a flip from 2016 because Bernie Sanders actually did the worst in urban areas. You know, his best places are actually in more urban areas. In Douglas County, he got 15% of the vote. In Sarpy County, he got 14%. In Lancaster, he got over 15%. So He didn't really win a delegate. He got 13.5, 13.4 here. You round down, it's 13% of the vote. And Joe Biden, he got 76.6% of the vote. So presumably he gets 26 of the pledged delegates. There are still 3 to be allocated. Maybe Bernie Sanders gets like 1 or 2, but that's not really enough to change anything. Bernie Sanders currently has 987 delegates, while Joe Biden has 1,475. So when he gets to 1,991, he'll be the official Democratic nominee. He isn't yet. So let's go to the next race. We have the Nebraska senatorial Republican and Democratic primaries. And from what I could see, we have Ben Sasse. He won in his race. He did pretty well against Matt Innes. His primary challenger, I think everybody expected him to win here. And yeah, he did. By a very large margin. You got 277,000 people voting in this election, 97% reporting, and that's pretty good for the Republicans. The Democrats, they had 140,000 people voting in their primary with 93% reporting, and Chris Janikek or something like that. I'm sorry, I'm one of the worst. I'm really bad at pronouncing names, but Chris Janikek got 43,000 votes, 30%. It was a pretty crowded primary. You got many people vying for the Democratic nomination to go up against Ben Sasse. Chris, he's not going to beat Ben Sasse, but it is interesting. From what I see, he was a candidate from the to flip the Senate in 2018. He was going up against I forgot his name, but the other incumbent Nebraskan senator, and he's also a businessman. I think there are many Democrats running, and many of them had a pretty good shot. I don't know. I wouldn't have. I guess I could have seen him winning just because he already ran in 2018. But yeah, that's interesting. And yeah, that's it for the Nebraska primaries. Here's our Nebraska Republican primary, and we have Bill Weld actually surprisingly taking 8.5% of the vote, 22,000 people. I don't think he ever did that well in any other place. Like here, like he got like 1.3% of the vote, and like in New Hampshire, he got like, oh yeah, New Hampshire got 9% of the vote, but that's pretty good, especially since he dropped out so long ago. But Donald Trump got all of the delegates from here, and he still got like over 90% of the vote, so that's pretty good for him. Here we have the Nebraska Libertarian presidential primaries, May 12th here. I was pretty disappointed because I really was hoping for Vermin Supreme to be the to be on the ballot here for the Libertarian primary in Nebraska. But let me see. Okay, so here you have the ballot, and you have Vermin Supreme. He was on the ballot in many of the earlier states, and he was not on the ballot in Oklahoma or Missouri or New York. Only Hornbergers, or in Nebraska, so you only had a few people on the ballot, 4 people. And from what I could tell, Joe Jorgensen is going to win here. It's pretty close. I don't know how much is reporting from here, but this might be her first primary win. And Lincoln Chafee already dropped out. That's pretty good for somebody who dropped out 14% of the vote. Adam Kokesh, she did well here. So that's pretty good for Jorgensen. I don't think that's enough to change anything in the primary. Jacob Hornberger has a very massive advantage. The only other person I could see winning is Justin Amash if he is the person to replace Jacob Hornberger in the convention. But yeah, that's it for here. If this stays New York, Hornberger being the only person on the ballot, then there's really no way that Vermin Supreme gets a chance, which is pretty sad because I'm a big fan of his. But yeah. Now we have the results of the Green Party presidential primaries. There was a new primary on May 12th. We had West Virginia, which, from what it says here, has 5 total national delegates. And the probably not presumptive, he doesn't even call himself the presumptive nominee yet, but probably going to be the Libertarian nominee, Howie Hawkins. He's going to carry all 5 of the delegates. Here in West Virginia, he got 78% of the vote, and his challenger, the closest person to him, Dario Hunter, he only got 4%. Actually, David Rodel, he got around 9% of the vote, and everybody else wasn't on the ballot. So that's pretty good for Howie Hawkins. He's over halfway through to getting to the 202 threshold of becoming the Green Party nominee, and it's pretty good for him. So let's go. Maybe there's like a county map. I'd love to see a county map if there is one here. No. Oh, there is. Okay, so we have here Hawkins won every single county, and yeah, that's nice for him. I can't wait to see the results for the New York primary because that's Howie Hawkins' home state, and that might be a great place for him to gather delegates. And there are only 3 people there on the ballot. I really don't think that Dario Hunter will do well or David Rodel. You could expect Howie Hawkins to carry basically like almost all of the delegates, and yeah, that's good for him. And the final one is pretty interesting. You have the House of Representative elections in Nebraska. There were a few primaries. First of all, for the 1st Congressional District, Nebraska's 1st Congressional District, which is right here, you see that. It's outside of like the 2nd Congressional District, which has like the metropolitan area in like Omaha. So the Republicans are basically the majority there. They really haven't. It's never been a very close district for Democrats. I don't think there's ever been a Democrat representative there in modern times. You have Jeff Fortenberry, who's the incumbent. I don't really think he had like a primary there, but he's probably the presumed nominee for there. He is the incumbent, and there's nobody else going up against him. Here in Nebraska, you had Kate Bowles, a state senator, and Barbara Ramsey, a security analyst. And Barbara Ramsey, apparently she was the more progressive candidate in the running. I looked at Kate Bowles' page and her issues and stuff like that. She really does sound like a moderate Democrat. The way she talks about expanding Obamacare, the language that she uses makes me think that she's in support of a public option, and I'm pretty sure that it was obvious that she would win. I don't really think Barbara Ramsey had a chance. And Kate Bowles, she doesn't have chance at beating Jeff Fortenberry. Maybe she makes it a bit close, like 15%, because I think in 2008 the district went to McCain by 14 points. So that's kind of good for Democrats, but they're probably never going to flip this district. And for the Libertarians, Dennis B. Grace, I guess he's presumed as the Libertarian nominee in the district, and I don't think he'll do well, but yeah, you have the Democrats, the Republicans, and the Libertarians in that district. And here you have the Republican primary for the 2nd Congressional District, which is a swing district. It's a key bellwether. Sometimes it goes Democrat, sometimes it goes Republican, mostly Republican. It encompasses the core of the Omaha metropolitan area, and it includes all of Douglas County, and includes many suburban areas. So you could see why Democrats do better here than many of the other rural areas. It is a more urban, or even you could say parts of it suburban area. So Don Bacon, I really don't think that he would have lost to Paul Anderson, but yeah, you have him winning by a blowout margin. So then the Democrats, this part was more interesting. The Democrats here, we had Ann Ashford and Trinity, and she was the wife of the former U.S. Representative from here, Brad Ashford. Kara Eastman, a nonprofit executive and nominee for the Congressional District in 2018. I'm pretty sure she lost here. Don Bacon. So they're going to have a rematch because she did win. And their Democratic primary here, and you have Gladys Harrison. I'm sorry again for pronunciation mistakes if this is a pronunciation mistake. General manager of Big Mama's Kitchen. And here we have the endorsements for Ann Ashford. You have basically many of the more establishment Democrats coming out. People like John Delaney, Bob Kerrey, Ben Nelson, statewide officials, Kim Roback. So I think that she was basically the establishment candidate. Then you had Kara Eastman, the more progressive candidate, endorsed by Elizabeth Warren, Pramila Jayapal, Ro Khanna, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, and Mark Pecan. All of these people in the Progressive Caucus. I'm pretty sure she's part of Justice Democrats. Yeah, I think she is, and I think she has a chance of flipping in this. But maybe just because Donald Trump is running against Joe Biden, the down ballot effect will help Don Bacon, just because Donald Trump is going to win this district. And the Libertarian Party, you have one person here. I don't really see him having a real shot at winning. He's just there, but where did I go? Okay. I think that's basically it for the results. It was pretty interesting. You have the Republicans doing well, holding on to one seat in Wisconsin and gaining a seat here in California. You had Joe Biden increasing his delegate lead. You had Jo Jorgensen winning her first primary. Howie Hawkins winning another primary. You also had much more. You had a progressive winning in the 2nd District Democratic primary, so she's going to face off against Don Bacon again. That's a very interesting House race. But I want to say that Don Bacon has a small advantage. But yeah, that's it for today's video. Thank you so much for watching, and take the Google form in the description to help out and decide the outcome of the election that I'm working on right now between Donald Trump and Joe Biden. So thank you so much for watching, and bye.